Welcome to Sleepover Cinema, where we analyze the films that created the collective unconscious of those who refuse to watch Star Wars for no reason but to make people mad. I'm Hannah Leach.
That's me, by the way. I do that. And I'm Audrey Leach. We are the sister filmmaking duo also known as Two Pink Pictures, and we haven't stopped thinking about these movies since we first saw them.
We're going to explore the good, the bad, and the nonsensical of the movies that first inspired our love for film in an attempt to answer the question, are these movies actually good? And at the end of the day, do we really care if they are?
Today, we are talking about 2002's Get a Clue.
This month on Disney Channel.
Have you ever written something that caused something else to happen?
Lexi's the coolest girl in school, but when something she writes leads to trouble, she's got to solve the mystery herself. Lexi Gold is played by Lindsay Lohan.
Lexi writes an article, and it goes into the paper. It's about two of her teachers. One of the teachers goes missing.
So I end up teaming up with her to find him. So we're like this the whole time. Opposite magnets.
How can someone so selfish make me feel so guilty?
It's a gift. My best friend is Jennifer. She's not a very good detective. My character is a fashion fanatic.
Lexi and her friends search for their missing teacher, takes them undercover.
At first, my character is sort of clueless to all the spy things that are going on, but then she really gets into it. This stuff is amazing.
This is a miniature camera.
Action. Oh, this is so exciting.
Even though we have all this high-tech equipment, nothing can replace our eyes, ears, and intuition.
He was not a detective.
What?
A New York detective could never afford a platinum watch, a Pumoni suit, and alligator boots. One of the most important spy gadgets, it's a wristwatch walkie-talkie.
A telephone voice changer.
It distorts your voice.
You've got to have the glasses.
It looks like a spray can, but you unscrew the bottom and it's like a little safe.
Okay, are you ready? Let's go to work.
See Lindsay Lohan, star of The Parent Trap, in a Disney Channel original movie. Trust no one. Question everything. Get a Clue. Opening this month, only on Disney Channel.
We are here talking about a relative oldie but a goodie today. Audrey, how do you feel about the content at hand today?
Well, it should be noted again that we did pre-watch. So we've already seen Get a Clue again, and I don't want to spoil my opinions, but I'm feeling very good about Get a Clue in general, especially through since we've had some somewhat tumultuous films recently. I'm feeling good about the vibe of Get a Clue.
The facts. Get a Clue first aired on Disney Channel as a Disney Channel original movie on July 20th, 2002. Cancer season, baby. Just what we like in life. It was directed by Maggie Greenwald, who didn't really have that many other directing credits, but I did find, very interestingly, she did a lot of directing for The Mystery Files of Shelby Woo, which is a show that I did not remember. Do you remember that, Audrey?
No.
Okay, so I thought it was noteworthy because the synopsis of the show is that it details the adventures of an aspiring detective girl who solves crime in her spare time. And I was like, that's kind of the same thing as what we're doing here.
Yeah. Lines up.
And the girl who stars in Shelby Woo was in All My Children and Joy Luck Club and like kind of nothing since then, which I thought was interesting. I'm sure she killed it. But whatever. Also, it's important to mention that this movie was directed and written by women, which I think you can tell when you watch it. The production team is not noteworthy. I'm not even going to get into it because it's so not worth it. But the writer of the screenplay for this movie is Elena Sanko, and she wrote a lot of Just for Kicks and a few episodes of Oswald, which I had to bring up for Audrey. And she was also a story editor on Roseanne, sad, and Life's Work, which I don't know what that is, but that was kind of her main, like, thing.
Sounds like another sitcom.
Doesn't it sound kind of Jesus-y to you?
Maybe.
It feels very, like, end of life to me. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's set in a retirement home or something. Audrey, would you like to read us these plot synopses?
Yeah, so I guess we've got a horrible one and a good one.
Yes.
And the horrible one's from IMDb, and it reads as follows. A wealthy student with too much fashion sense, her equally rich friends, and her rival/superior from the school paper work together to solve the case when their teacher goes missing.
Isn't that, like, atrocious?
Yeah, that there was zero groove to that. And then the good one from Disney Plus is 13-year-old fashionista Lexi Gold prides herself on getting the inside scoop for her school's gossip column, but when her English teacher, Mr. Walker, goes missing, Lexi takes the lead on what could be the story of the century, teaming up with her friends to find out what really happened to Mr. Walker.
Disney Plus writes the best synopses. They respect their own IP so much, but I will say my one complaint for Disney Plus is that they do not make their synopses copy and pasteable, so I have to hand transcribe it every time.
Yeah.
Which, hateful? Yes.
That's also very Disney-esque, though.
Yeah, that's really true.
As for taglines, we have one. And that is, trust no one, question everything, get a clue. They do not shy away from saying get a clue.
Oh, they say get a clue as often as they possibly can.
Yes.
So with all of that in mind, let's get into this cast. So obviously this movie is anchored and really carried by Lindsay Lohan as Lexi Gold. What is there to say about Lindsay Lohan that hasn't been said already? But one little piece of info that I saw that I thought everyone would appreciate is that everyone has heard of the infamous 3-movie contract that young Lindsay Lohan had to sign with Disney at the very beginning. And Get a Clue was the last film that Lindsay Lohan stars in under that original contract that required her to do 3 movies. The other 2 of that trifecta being The Parent Trap and Life Size, which we've covered one of those already, and we will definitely be doing The Parent Trap at some point. Next up, we have an individual named Bug Hall, which I did not know this was a person. Audrey, had you ever heard this name?
Yeah, but, like, I did Google him because, to me, he looks so much like the current teen heartthrob Joshua Bassett, who is the one who dated Olivia Rodrigo, blah, 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 blah,
Oh,
blah.
yeah.
But they look really similar. Like him at that age, Bug Hall at that age, and Joshua Bassett now, they look like twins.
The one and only Brenda Song as Jennifer. And I think we can all agree, ubiquitously, she is known as having played London Tipton in The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Plus, she was on Phil of the Future as Tia, and even more obviously, she was Wendy Wu in Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior. But since that time, she's done a lot of TV, which I had no idea that was true. I don't know why. But she was in New Girl, Dads, Scandal, Pure Genius, and Dollface, among other things. And she's also entered the cultural consciousness in a more significant way lately due to her and Macaulay Culkin having their first child together, which is really cute, I think.
She's also in The Social Network.
I forgot about that.
Interesting.
Brenda Song is in The Social Network as well. Okay, next up we have Ali Mukaddam, who is, he played Ray in Radio Free Roscoe, which I don't know what that is, but it seems like something other people our age would know based off the time period. He was Wheelie in Roly Poly Oly, which we watched a good amount of Roly Poly Oly at one point. He was Mohammed in Degrassi, The Next Generation, Johnny in Angela Anaconda. These are all shows that I kind of know, but I feel like are known by people in our age group. And he's still very, very booked and blessed to this day. However, we are not the demographic of the shows that he is on. And last but not least, we have Amanda Plummer as Miss Dawson, and I included her for one very significant reason. She's in Ratched and she's in Pulp Fiction, but most importantly to this podcast, she is the daughter of one Christopher Plummer.
That's sad for Amanda. I definitely was looking at her and I was like, this woman, she is special to me and I don't know why.
Yeah, she's been in a lot of stuff. I was really surprised. Like, I almost didn't include her, but then I realized that she was Christopher Plummer's daughter, so I put her on. And then I saw all of her other credits, and I was like, oh, holy shit. Like, she should be on this list.
So as for the budget, according to Wikipedia, it was listed as $1 million. That's a lot. That's a lot of money for a DCOM. There is no critic score because since it's a DCOM, it was made for TV, so there's no critical consensus. However, there are opinions about it, regardless of its DCOM status. So we've got
and these are critic reviews.
The first one is your run-of-the-mill Disney Channel movie shot on the cheap in 2002 while trying to propel one of their young stars into the heavens. The second one is Get a Clue displays style to spare, bursting out of the starting gate only to stumble at the finish line, tripped up by the wild tangle of awkwardly knotted loose ends. They are really trying with their words there.
Yes, but this last one I like.
The last one is Get a Clue zips along with the help of an upbeat soundtrack, funky costumes, and Manhattan backdrops designed to inspire location envy.
And the audience score was 42%. So, seems weirdly low in my opinion.
Yeah, seems weirdly low.
Yeah.
For what we got.
The gossip section for July 2002. This was sort of the most relevant thing I found for us. So, in July 2002, this was a news item on Entertainment Weekly or whatever. 2 former members of Destiny's Child agreeing to settle their lawsuits against the R&B group's current members, their managers, and Sony Music. LaToya Luckett and Latavia Robertson quit the group in 2000, but they later sued for fraud, defamation, and breach of contract. So the lineup drama was starting to finally cool off with Destiny's Child around this time. I feel like that's noteworthy. In the summer of 2002, Cadet Kelly also came out, which also seems good to know. We're entering the Hilary Duff era. Lindsay Lohan is at large too. But it's so weird to think that these movies came out the same time because I feel like Lindsay Lohan still looks like a little kid in this movie and Hilary Duff already looked like older.
Hilary Duff just looked older her whole life. Like, she really did.
Teen People had a photo shoot pairing Jay-Z and Michelle Branch. Why?
I
because
love that.
They were in, I know, they were into these, like, quirky, like quote unquote quirky, like, mismatches of, like, up and coming acts, as they described, which, like, to me, I'm like,
Jay-Z was not up and coming by then.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe he was up and coming to, like, the mainstream, like, tween market or something. I don't know. And then this last little piece of information, this isn't exactly gossip, but it's relevant. So I found this online. In 2005, Disney Channel had a special event naming the 5 best Disney Channel original movies, which led to the premiere of their new movie, Go Figure. I'm almost sure that Audrey and I watched this event. This film, as in Get a Clue, placed number 2 by viewers with Stuck in the Suburbs at number 5, Gotta Kick It Up at number 4, Halloween Town High at 3, Get a Clue at number 2, and Cheetah Girls as number 1 in the summer of 2005. So this movie was really beloved by the fans.
Yeah.
And it was pre-High School Musical and Camp Rock and stuff. Which I feel like those would, like, nudge their way into those slots probably. But, like, respect was paid to Get a Clue, which I appreciate. Speaking of our youths, Audrey, what did you remember about this movie before you rewatched it?
Literally only 2 things.
Okay.
2 things in the whole movie. Actually, I guess 3. One would be, like, their little headsets and their computers, and that was very cute. You know, we love that. The slow motion shot of Brenda and Lindsay going down the hallway. Mm-hmm. I remembered that, even though it's super, super brief and it's, like, not important. They just kind of put it in for style. And then, I knew there was a song that had Get a Clue in it, but I like, in my head, I was like, get up, it's me, it's you, it's me, it's you, get a clue. na 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 na, get a clue. I knew it was that, but I had no idea if I made that up. Like, that is actually something that I would have made up.
Yeah.
So
No, that's something I almost said that too. Like, I remember you like making fun of the song by like adding in way more things in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So I guess that was an established joke. I legitimately had no idea like where the source of that was in my head.
yes, it was real. I can corroborate your story. My two things that I really remember is that I remember when I saw this movie for the first time, I think it might have even been during this like DCOM countdown thing, because by the time I was seeing it, Lindsay was like very much like a teen, so seeing like the little girl version of her was super weird, and I don't think I had seen The Parent Trap yet. Like, I feel like I saw this movie before Parent Trap, so I was like, oh wow, she is so little, how strange. So I remembered that, and I remembered seeing Brenda Song and that she was also a baby in it, and I just loved her and was like, she's such a cutie. And I do remember this movie being so long for a DCOM, and Audrey like will literally come into my house and stab me if I mention anything about length, but I'm just saying it's long. It's a long movie. But and people had complaints with that on IMDb, but I didn't include that part because, again,
I'm not saying
I
that
didn't want to stir up a ruckus.
I'm not saying that it should have been as long as it was. I'm just saying in general, like, before watching a movie, like, you shouldn't like have opinions about the runtime.
So fire up your Disney Plus or whatever. Maybe you taped this movie off of the TV back in 2005 or 2004 if people were still doing that at that time. So go give it a watch and come back and we'll discuss. We are back. We watched Get a Clue earlier today, but you probably just watched it now, hopefully. So let's talk about this movie. I would like to propose a motion, Audrey, if you would be so kind, as for us to start with the bad things, because normally we tried.
Okay, because there's so few.
Yes, because there are so few.
I'm just going to run through my bad things. They're not really that bad. It's just more so like snarky comments that I thought of, or just like semi-negative things. So I thought it was funny that like being a gossip columnist is like being shat on so hard in this movie. I was like, what's wrong? It's still writing, like, please. And I also forgot that this movie was a DCOM, and I wrote that towards the beginning because that's when I saw a Disney Channel original movie, and I thought that that would make it like worse in the long run. But that actually turned out to be a good thing, and we'll get into that later. But I forgot this was a DCOM. I wrote that it picks up a lot of inspiration from Clueless.
Yes,
like,
I had the same thing.
Like, almost too much. Like, that's how it almost became negative to me, was because we've got headsets, we've got fashion like that, we've got this whole teacher's plot line, and like Clueless has a teacher's plot line. The rich girl, less rich boy, or whatever. Yes. Yeah, so I also thought that there was some real traceable Legally Blonde inspo in this, because her knowledge of fashion is what saves the day, as Elle's knowledge of hair is what saves the day.
I literally also wrote down when fashion saves the day.
Yeah, like, it's very that. I wrote, what's with this weird teacher love trope? Like, like, it's strange. I'm like, why are you portraying these teachers like they're like outcasts of the earth or something? Like, it's just
of the earth. Yeah.
It's weird. At first, I thought that Jack was being a douchebag for no reason. And, like, I guess that's what they want you to think, is that he's just, like, being sour to her for no reason.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they hit you with the hardest feel bad for Jack storyline.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, like I'm a bad person now. I thought the moment of like seeing a coat on a homeless man that is the same as your teacher's didn't make any sense because trust and believe there are tons of duplicate clothes out on the streets. Like that's not a thing. Also, it was like the most plain trench coat ever.
Yes.
I thought that the Brooklyn house that Jack lives in is still huge and expensive.
I thought that same thing too, yeah.
I was like, it's not Upper East Side penthouse, obviously, but it's not nothing. I thought that the navy shirt that Jack was wearing was extremely heavy-handed.
I know. Well, it was funny because I was sitting there, and when he's like, it's like his brother's gone, and he's like, oh yeah, my brother's not home, and out loud I was like, he's in the Navy, and then he's like, he's in the Navy. I'm like, yeah, okay, because the shirt is like screaming at you, my brother's in the Navy, and then in the picture on the wall when he's standing with his brother, he's wearing the Navy t-shirt in the picture too.
Yep. Yeah, I was like, all right, that's a little much. And I was sad that Brenda Song's character has no growth throughout the movie. Like at the end of the movie, she's still like shallow or whatever. But like in a fun way. Like it's still like in a fun, cutesy way. But her character she did not learn anything from the experience in the same way that Lindsay's character did.
Yeah, no. I mean, she barely got any kind of like depth, but she's really cute and fun, and I feel like that's kind of the point of her character, so.
Yes. I also, and this is my last thing, I thought
you have a lot.
I know. I was really observing. I thought that the way that I was scared about the way that they were treating and reacting to the homeless guy. Throughout the movie, I was like, what the hell is going on here? I was so scared about the way they were treating him. And then, of course, it's like a reveal. But still, before the general public finds out it's a reveal, the way that they are treating him is really not good.
Yes. I also thought that the way that so spoiler, it's like a city councilman like dressed up as a homeless person or as a person experiencing homelessness, I should say. Like the way he's like hightailing it around the hotel, I'm like, who would run like that? Like it makes no sense.
A lot of the storyline in general, I was like, I don't really know what's going on.
Yes, so I'm going to clock in on that. So there were definitely moments, especially at the end, where I was like, what? Like I was super confused by the ending, but I didn't really care. I just like was ready for it to be tied up at that point. But I only had 3 things written down as like nitpicky things.
Okay.
My first one was in the beginning when someone's parent comes in and talks about how she was in the CIA. I was like, I don't think you can just come in and tell your kid's class that you were in the CIA. I was like, that seems wrong. So that was my first thing. My second thing was that there is this thing. It's in The Little Mermaid 2 also. I don't know what it is with early 2000s movies and being like, I'm lying and crossing my fingers. Like, that's gonna save me. Like, I hate it so much. It's, like, embarrassing. And she does that really heavy-handedly at one point. And then the last thing, or there's 2 more things, actually, is that I really wanted Mrs. Petrosian to have an accent. I was like, how are you gonna paint this, like, Russian, like, this deep Russian town and then, like, have her be, like, sort of like New York Jewish instead of New York, like Russian Brooklyn, which like, if you know me, you know I have I had at one point ties to the community that ran quite deep. And so when I saw like Brighton Beach and everything, I was like, oh my God, we're going to go there. Like we're going to see the Russians. And then we didn't. We just saw like another classically New York lady, but it's like they assumed that the audience wouldn't know better. And I was like, this is not the representation I'm looking for in my Brighton Beach scene.
There was a lot of that. Which makes sense. I mean, I'm not saying like most of the people that watch this movie don't have New York knowledge themselves or like didn't grow up there. So they're just kind of going with it. But there was a lot of things where I was like, that's not, I was like, that's not, it's not true to life. But I do also just appreciate the fact that, they even shot in New York at all for a DCOM. Like that is,
I was
more
surprised.
rare side.
I was really surprised.
Yeah.
The school was in Toronto, though. I thought you would like to know.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
I found out that piece of information. Okay, so I have two more. There's two more things I wrote under notable. And the first one is that Lindsay Lohan's child hands look exactly like Audrey's child hands, to the point where we both took a picture of the exact same shot and sent it to each other at the same time, being like, look at these hands. Yeah. So Audrey has fancy hands, and like, okay, the video viewers, as you're seeing, she has fancy hands now. Imagine those hands on like an actual 5-year-old with the nail length included, and that is what her hands look like when she was little.
And my nails aren't even long right now. Like this isn't good representation, but yeah.
Yeah, Audrey.
But they used to be a lot more freckly than they are now.
Yeah, that is true. And then the other notable thing I wrote is that the part when Lindsay Lohan finds Mrs. Dawson tied up in the shower is really scary.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, this is a lot to be on Disney Channel. Like that part was shocking. But yeah, okay.
Agreed.
Those are all of my things that are not compliments. Now we can get into the affirmation shower for Get a Clue.
Are you saying the hand comparison was not a compliment?
I was just saying that was a comment. That was a comment.
There's some the obvious things, like the fashion, which by the way, we are collaborating with June Flower Vintage on this episode. So June Flower Vintage reached out to us and she expressed how much she enjoys the show, and I was looking at her account and like how cool it is, and I figured she must have extensive knowledge in this category. So I was like, oh, like let's collab in some way, and we ended up landing on Get a Clue. So if you look at our middle it'll be the middle grid post on Instagram. It has a bunch of like facts and knowledge about the fashion in Get a Clue and like where you could potentially find it and like cool stuff like that. So shout out to her. Shout out to Emma. She really did her research, and I was shook at the blue dress at the end.
I loved it. That was my favorite dress in the whole thing. I was like, those butterflies are everything to me.
Yeah, it was really good. I loved that look in general. Karen, the name of the character is Karen. She's the little girl with the big curly pigtails.
Yes.
She is a supportive queen, and we love Karen, and Karen deserves her flowers.
Which she was like really supportive. I noticed that too. And like her eyes are really big and blue, and she was just like really excited the whole time.
Yeah, she was like, fuck Jack, like you're gonna go to the Daily Post or whatever. Or the New York Post. It was so funny. Yeah. I appreciated her. I thought that they were gonna frame her as like a nerd or something, but they didn't. And I was like, yes, like
I also loved that she looked like she was like 5 years younger than everyone else. Like she's like the scene where you see her in like the journalism room from behind, and it looks like she's at like a high table. Like she's so little.
I appreciated that both the parents were alive.
Josh and I was watching this with Josh, who's my boyfriend that I live with, and we talked about that too. We were like, wow, supportive dad, mom who's alive. Love that in this movie.
Yeah, but Lindsay definitely inserted some like weird subtext into her performance regarding the mom and like resenting the mom working and stuff.
Yeah.
But it never came back. So it was like, okay.
Yes.
I thought that this is like my soapbox for this movie. And the reason that this movie works so much better than New York Minute, and I feel like that is a real comparison because they both take place in New York, and
they're both like
are
caper
both movies where there's weird men following them, and whatnot. But I thought that Get a Clue does such a better job at it because the entire structure and plot events are relevant to Lindsay's character's Lexi, her main desire and what she wants to do with her life. So like it is compelling to see her talk to like a detective, these like weird old guys, because you know that is something that she wants to pursue in her life and that it's like relevant to her goals at the time. And like New York Minute was 100% missing that element. It was like, this twin has this objective, this twin has this objective, now let's throw a monkey wrench into all of those goals and just have them get completely sidetracked in doing other stuff. So yeah.
You know how I
know
feel
you
when
don't
you say monkey wrench.
But I checked it, and monkey wrench is the correct term.
It's so funny.
They said "get a clue" 4 times in this movie.
Yes, they did.
I thought the weird little sister was very unexpected.
I was just gonna say, I loved perfect casting. She was so weird. B, I loved that, like, we just, for once, in one of these sorts of movies, got, like, an unexplained young girl genius who's weird and sciencey.
Yes.
Like, like, I feel like, I don't think that Matt in Lizzie McGuire was particularly smart or good at anything. He was kind of just, like, a fuck ass. But, like, that sort of vibe was still there. And I was like, I love that she just gets to be good at this. And, like, we don't find out why or care. And like, when her sister shits on her, it's not because she's smart. It's just because she's annoying.
Yeah, it's just because she's annoying. And she's a little sister, you know?
Yeah.
And I like, when she turned around, she, like, in one of the shots, the little sister, like, turns around and goes to the door, and her hair is, like, past her butt.
No. Well, that's the whole thing. Like, that's part of what makes the casting so perfect. I'm like, this girl looks weird and has hair that goes past her butt. Like, she is the real deal.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this she came off the street.
They wrote the role for her.
They brought her right in.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
I thought that the spy outfits were really good.
Yes.
That hot, you know, kind of like what I have.
I was just about to say, when she walked down with the hot half up, half down, like thick hair gorgeousness, I was like, I literally screamed out loud, that is what I want. Like, that is my dream hair. Like, that is what I want so badly. And I know I'll never get it, but, like, in my heart, I want it so bad.
And then I also thought that the teacher, like, what's her name?
Dawson?
Miss Dawson. Yeah. I thought her earnesty and, like, that acting moment at the very end, I thought it was actually really good. I was like, she's kind of bringing it home for us right now.
Yeah.
Otherwise it would be like maybe a little lackluster, but it's kind of like, instead of the scene with the mom or something, it's the scene with Miss Dawson.
Yes. I have a significant amount too, but let me just, I think we covered actually kind of a lot of them. We sort of wrote the same things. First of all, I really always love it when the beginnings of these movies have, like, unnecessary Y2K tech elements. Like, loved the video chat where there's, like, no visible camera on their computers. I'm like, yes, like, give it to us. That was great. next I had Brenda Song's hair, like when it's flipped out all the time. I'm like, beautiful. I really liked the filmmaking in the part where when the dad wakes her up with the news that her teacher is missing, and it's all this like shaky cam.
Yeah, I was like a little heavy-handed.
I thought it was funny. And I also loved the scene where Brenda and Lindsay are like talking about like the issues of the day, and for some reason it's like this ring light lit like fashion montage.
Yeah.
Like, they look amazing. They're just like, they don't explain why they're changing outfits and why they're doing makeovers, but that's just like what they do, like for girl time, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're like clearly in a department store the whole time, and I'm like, this is giving everything to me. So I loved that.
It's like taking, you know, taking a page out of Clueless and Legally Blonde.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that one of the other things that is like so aggressively Clueless-esque about this, and this is not deep, but like when Lexi, not Lindsay, when Lexi is in Jack's house and they're like talking about bowling or whatever, it just like struck me. It's like, oh, she's getting a clue about life as well as about the case. And I was like, okay, haha, I got a clue. So there was that.
No, like literally down to the title. It is a takeoff of Clueless.
Yes, it's true.
Literally the word clue.
It's like Clueless, but it's like a G-rated Clueless. And I think that there is like zero misogyny in this movie, which we will come back to at the end. And I think there is some in Clueless because it was like a teen movie, you know.
Yeah, like so, I don't think it's a reason to hate on it. No. I just think it's extremely palpable and that it's like adorable, like that they made like a G-rated Clueless. Like that's what children need. Like I am okay with it.
Yeah. So I loved the line when Lindsay Lohan comes out of the subway in Brooklyn and she looks around at everyone and she goes, what a riot. Who knew? I'm like, what child would ever say what a riot? Like, that would not happen. Yeah. But I loved that. And if I may, I felt like the way that they depicted Brooklyn was like the exact opposite of what they did in New York Minute.
Yeah.
Like, it was like an actually really realistic depiction of Brooklyn.
Yeah. No, I wrote that down too because, you know, like she comes out of the subway, which she was so apparently like intimidated to take or whatever, which is like not really a thing. Like if you've lived in New York your whole life, like it kind of doesn't matter like what socioeconomic class you're in. Everybody takes the subway, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, like that just is unlikely. But anyway, yeah, when she comes out of the train and she's in Brooklyn, I thought that those shots were so adorable. Yeah. And I thought that the way that she reacted to being in Brooklyn was so cute because you're expecting her to be like, ew, like, why am I out here like Brenda Song's character was? But no, she's pretty open-minded as an individual.
She literally was like, huh, who knew?
I thought it was cute.
It was really cute. So I'm glad you enjoyed that too, because I really got a kick out of that. I really thought that the line where this is another specific thing, it's like around the same time when they see like the principal of the school walking around in Brooklyn and Lindsay's like, I'm surprised she doesn't have a nosebleed south of 14th Street. I'm like, no one would get that, but like we got it, and I just thought that was funny.
That is like a trope line though. Like people do that is always said in things. Like that's said in Gossip Girl a lot. It's said in like New York things.
Well, because pre-gentrification, you know, it used to be like things got shadier, I guess.
80s, 90s, yeah.
So the only thing that we had not talked about yet is this. And I feel like it actually feeds really well into our overall point. So I really liked in the end how her knowledge of fashion got to save the day. it wasn't like a weakness that she was vilified for. And I liked that at the very end, she was like, oh, I went shopping, but like, oh, I got you something, like, to the boy. Yeah. And I was like, she still gets to have her passion areas, and she isn't cool girling herself. Like, that doesn't happen in this movie. Right. And I feel like that is so beautiful to witness and just so rare in this genre of movie, and I really appreciated that about it. And that's what feeds into the overall thing, which is like why this is New York Minute but better, which is that this movie is just focused on its characters, and it's also just focused on like telling a good story where the main characters like happen to be girls more than anything else. And it doesn't hate its female characters at all.
Yeah, and there's no not like other girls moment. There's no competition between friends moment. It's just purely about learning and growing.
Yeah, and like solving this weird crime. Which like the crime is a little bit confusing, and
the crime is a stretch.
I will also
the crime
say,
is a stretch.
Let me just clarify one thing that I think would be really helpful. The original ending of Get a Clue was that Mrs. Stern was behind it all. And for some reason they decided to rewrite it. And I don't know why. I mean, I could like guess why, but I don't think any of my guesses would actually be true to the reason why. But they did a reshoot deep into 2001, like pretty much a while after they wrapped, and reshot the ending. So as that one critic said, the ending is like really jumbled and kind of confusing. Like, yeah, it is.
And
but
it is.
No one really cares that, I mean, at least I didn't care that it was jumbled.
And like, we do again have to give credit where credit is due. We do have to give Miss Lohan her flowers.
Yeah.
For this performance, because, and it's in every movie that Lindsay Lohan is in, she just brings a level of reality to it that may not have otherwise been there.
Yes.
And she did it again. She's done it again, folks. Yes, we are campaigning for her to return to the acting scene, win an Oscar by 2030. That's what I'm saying.
Honestly, I would love to see her back in things. Like, she is so amazing in this movie. She's so cute, but like so much more than just being cute. Like, she's a real ass person. And I just really appreciated everything that she put into this movie. And I do think that if she wasn't the lead, it could have been really boring. But because it's her, it was good.
No, absolutely. I think it would have been really boring. But, you know, there's just a certain intrigue that comes with Lindsay Lohan. And, like, clearly Disney knew that. And they signed her up for 3.
Yes.
So, that was a good move on their part.
Yeah.
But yeah, just we had to mention her performance.
Yeah. I mean, also, I think something that's so great about this movie too is like the only thing I put in the problematic column was the homeless guy thing, and that got resolved in a way that at least made it make sense. And
it
there
wasn't
was
randomly
not
placed.
a shred of anything else. Like, I think the only thing would be that, like, there's, like, a lead white boy and a lead white girl, and then, like, the side characters are both people of color, and they, like, get no personalities. Or, like, they get personalities, but it's very one note. So, like, there's that.
Yes.
But considering how bad it could have been, as things have very recently been demonstrated to us, it's like, oh, this is... Like, this could still hold up to this day. It does hold up.
Oh, yeah. It does hold up. And in the beginning, I was like, oh, like, you know, she's extremely privileged, she's spoiled, blah, blah, blah. But that is the point, if you will. It does fall into the genre of rich girl learns a lesson thing. I also was writing about Material Girls. It's like my final statement on, is this movie good / worthwhile?
Yes.
I think that Get a Clue is good and worthwhile for youth still today. Because essentially the fact that it was a DCOM and was released as a TV movie meant that it couldn't be edgy in the same way, or make an attempt at humor or edge in the same way that other movies of its time did, like Material Girls or New York Minute, but that ended up being its greatest strength instead of its eventual hugest weakness, because it just observes without making judgments on every single aspect that comes across the screen. Like, it's just not trying for anything other than it's not trying for any like political takes or like just nothing of the sort. We're just looking at the characters. They have goals, they have motivations, and we'll see those through and also have some fun stylistic moments on the way.
Honestly, I couldn't say anything else. I think you said it perfectly. Really cute movie, really good casting. I would show it to a child now and have no reservations about it.
Yeah. I would go into it boldly. And I also appreciate too that like the Jack, you know how Jack was like, you're so shallow, like you like fashion, blah 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 blah. You know, they both come around to each other's things or whatever in a way that doesn't feel like entirely fake. Like I thought they actually did a pretty good job of wrapping it up in that moment after the teachers leave from their wedding or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought that little moment where the camera is sort of like dollying down with them. They're walking down the sidewalk and there's just the four of them and they're just this cute little friend group, and I really liked it.
Yeah, let's not forget one of the best things too, the voiceover when she goes, New York City is the greatest city in the world. You have great adventures, good friends, and something. And if you can't find it, you just have to get a clue. I was like, and good night.
And Smash to Black. And, you know, that is extremely reminiscent of the Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen voiceovers she did.
That is true.
About New York. Remember when she's like, New York? Like, some of the stuff she says about New York in that movie is just, like, so over the top.
Such a reach. But, you know, you gotta let her have her flowers. She didn't write the script. She's just living her life. And I think that's all we have to say on Miss Get a Clue.
I think we love her. I think we had a more positive reaction to Get a Clue than we have since like Little Mermaid 2, probably.
I think so. I think that is totally true. It's a cute movie.
Yeah.
It's good shit.
And also be sure to follow at June Flower Vintage on Instagram and check out all of the fun little mood board things she did in collaboration with us for this movie, because it's very fun and I've had fun talking to her and looking at everything. So yeah, make sure you follow her.
Cool. Well, until next time, bye.
Get a clue.
Get a clue.
You can find more from us at evergreenpodcast.com/sleepover-cinema and keep up with all our latest creative projects at twopinkpictures.com. If you want to watch our show as well as listen, we're on YouTube too, yay! Search Sleepover Cinema or go to the link tree in our Instagram bio. We're on Instagram and Twitter at twopinkpictures and would love to hear from you there. We're also on TikTok at Sleepover Cinema, and that's really where the party is at.
It's true. And if you like Sleepover Cinema, if it brings back evocative memories of your childhood or your adolescence or maybe even just babysitting in the early 2000s, please share an episode with a few friends. Sleepover Cinema is a production of Evergreen Podcasts, produced, edited, and engineered by us, Hannah and Audrey Leach. Sleepover Cinema is mixed by Sean Rule Hoffman, and theme music is by Josh Perlman Hall. Special thanks to executive producers Michael D'Aloia and David Moss.
We'll chat again soon.